The music industry was built on control of sound, image, distribution, and profit. For decades, artists entered the system hoping for fame while surrendering ownership. Then SB19 rewrote the equation. They stepped away from the traditional machine and constructed a self-powered ecosystem driven by fan mobilization, data intelligence, and total creative authority. No gatekeepers, no middlemen, no borrowed influence. Now executives aren't dismissing the shift, they're studying it. Because if this model spreads, the balance of power doesn't adjust. It flips. Like, share, and subscribe. Because this story changes everything. Before independence, SB19 rose through the structured training system of SB19 Philippines, where discipline, image control, and performance precision shaped them into elite performers. It was a classic idol framework. Management steered the direction, schedules were tightly controlled, and creative decisions flowed from the top down. The system worked, but it also defined the limits of artist autonomy. When their contract period ended, the group faced a defining crossroads: renew and remain secure inside the system, or step into uncertainty with full control over their future. They chose the harder path. The creation of SB19's Entertainment marked more than a corporate transition. It was a declaration of ownership over their music, their brand, and their narrative. Instead of being managed assets, they became decision-makers, executives, and stakeholders in their own success. This move sent quiet shockwaves through the industry. If artists recognize they can operate as owners rather than employees, the traditional balance of power begins to shift. Record labels don't fear rebellion, they fear realization. Independence isn't rebellion, it's leverage. For decades, the music industry's most valuable asset hasn't been the artist, it's the masters. Whoever owns the master recordings controls licensing, streaming revenue, commercial usage, and long-term royalties. Traditional label contracts are built around this principle, ensuring profits continue flowing long after an album cycle ends. By moving toward control of their recordings, distribution, and publishing pathways, SB19 disrupted the core economic engine of the traditional label model. Ownership transforms music from a one-time paycheck into a lifetime asset. Streaming revenue accumulates. Sync licensing places songs in films, ads, and games. Touring multiplies exposure. Merchandise builds brand equity. When masters are owned by the artist, each of these channels strengthens the artist's financial ecosystem instead of enriching a third party. This is why ownership represents a billion-peso question, not just for SB19, but for the entire industry. If more artists follow this blueprint, labels risk losing their most dependable long-term revenue streams. Around the world, emerging artists are studying this model carefully. Because once you own the recordings, you own the future. Control the masters, control the empire. The real engine behind SB19 isn't a boardroom, it's a movement. And that movement has a name: ATIN. What began as a loyal fan base evolved into a digital army, organized, strategic, and fiercely protective. Unlike label-funded campaigns that rely on paid ads and radio placements, ATIN operates on emotional investment. They stream with purpose. They trend hashtags with coordination. They defend narratives in real time. And they amplify every release like shareholders protecting their stock. This is organic marketing at industrial scale. While traditional labels spend millions manufacturing visibility, ATIN generates momentum through authenticity. Fan-made edits flood TikTok. Reaction videos multiply on YouTube. Streaming parties dominate release days. Social media algorithms respond not to money, but to engagement. And engagement is something money cannot fake. PR agencies craft press angles. ATIN crafts cultural moments. Labels struggle to replicate this ecosystem because it isn't transactional, it's relational. It's built on shared struggle, transparency, and the belief that the group's success is also the fans' victory. When supporters feel included in the journey, they don't just consume content, they promote it. When fans feel ownership, they become marketers. For decades, global success required Western validation. A U.S. label deal, a Los Angeles PR machine, a cosign from American radio. That was the formula. But SB19 began rewriting it. Without permanent U.S. label backing, they achieved international chart recognition, including placements on Billboard charts, and mounted global tours that extended beyond Southeast Asia. Their growth did not depend on Western gatekeepers approving their sound or image. Instead, it relied on diaspora communities, Asian markets, and digital globalization. Streaming erased borders. Social media removed intermediaries. Touring proved demand. The shift is powerful. Validation is no longer geographically centralized. Markets like the Philippines, Indonesia, the Middle East, and North America's Filipino diaspora can independently fuel momentum. Regional strength can now create global impact. This decentralization unsettles traditional labels. If artists can reach international audiences without relocating to Los Angeles or signing restrictive global deals, geographic control weakens. The old system thrived on being the gateway. But when artists build direct highways to fans worldwide, the gate loses value. The message is clear. Success no longer requires Western permission. You no longer need Los Angeles to go global. For years, pop acts were molded to fit predetermined templates. Visuals calibrated for mass appeal, sounds tailored to trends, and personalities filtered for market comfort. But SB19 stepped away from assembly line artistry and chose authorship instead. Members actively participate in songwriting, production decisions, and artistic direction, allowing their music to reflect lived experience rather than manufactured narratives. Their sound fuses P-pop polish with hip-hop grit, R&B emotion, EDM textures, and unmistakable Filipino cultural identity. Instead of smoothing out regional influences to meet Western expectations, they elevate them. This shift matters. Traditional labels often adjust image, language, or styling to fit global market norms. SB19 reversed that equation. They export authenticity rather than dilute it. The result is a brand that feels human, grounded, and culturally rooted. Qualities increasingly valued by global audiences fatigued by formulaic pop. When artists control their narrative, branding evolves organically. Fans witness growth rather than rebranding cycles. The story feels continuous, not manufactured. In a digital era where audiences detect insincerity instantly, authenticity has become a competitive advantage. What once seemed niche now signals trust, relatability, and emotional credibility. Authenticity is now the most profitable aesthetic. The modern music battlefield is no longer decided solely in conference rooms. It's shaped by dashboards, analytics, and real-time audience behavior. SB19 operates with the precision of a tech startup, using data to guide strategy rather than relying on executive instinct alone. Release timing aligns with peak engagement windows. Platform analytics reveal where fans stream most actively. Social media performance signals which content resonates. Algorithms now function as global marketing departments, rewarding engagement velocity over advertising budgets. Instead of guessing trends, data reveals them instantly. Tour planning also reflects strategic intelligence. Fan heat maps, streaming concentrations, and engagement metrics help identify cities with the highest demand. This reduces financial risk while maximizing attendance and fan satisfaction. Traditional labels historically depended on executive experience to forecast hits and markets. Today, metrics provide immediate feedback loops, allowing independent acts to pivot quickly and optimize campaigns. SB19's approach demonstrates that success in modern music requires analytical literacy alongside artistic talent. Understanding audience behavior is no longer optional. It is foundational. Artists who read data can predict momentum. Artists who ignore it chase trends too late. The future artist studies metrics like a CEO. In the streaming era, recorded music alone rarely sustains long-term profitability. While labels traditionally depended on album sales and streaming margins, SB19 built a layered revenue ecosystem designed for durability and growth. Merchandise drops function like streetwear launches, limited, collectible, and culturally meaningful. Each release strengthens identity while generating immediate revenue. Brand partnerships extend visibility into lifestyle markets, aligning the group with products their audience already trusts. Live experiences are no longer limited to concerts. Exclusive fan events, VIP tiers, and immersive meet-and-greet formats create premium access moments that deepen loyalty while increasing per-fan value. Concert films and digital exclusives transform performances into evergreen assets that can be monetized long after the tour ends. Most importantly, their intellectual property, music, visuals, branding, and storytelling, functions as a scalable asset. Every song fuels merchandise design, tour concepts, and licensing opportunities. This diversified model reduces dependence on any single revenue stream. If streaming fluctuates, live events thrive. If touring pauses, digital content sustains momentum. Independence enables artists to build ecosystems rather than rely on one pipeline. Independence multiplies profit channels. Beyond charts and revenue, SB19 has triggered something deeper inside the music industry, a mindset shift. Their journey is being studied not only by fans, but by emerging artists across Asia and beyond. Young performers now see a different path. Instead of chasing record deals as the ultimate validation, they are asking new questions. Who owns the masters? Who controls the brand? What happens after the contract ends? Inside traditional label systems, the fear isn't loud, it's quiet and strategic. If one successful act proves independence is viable, others may follow. The result could be a domino effect reshaping artist negotiations worldwide. Advances and short-term fame once represented success. Today's generation is increasingly equity-focused, prioritizing ownership, longevity, and creative freedom over immediate visibility. This cultural pivot reflects a broader shift in the creator economy, where control equals sustainability. Artists want partnership, not dependency. SB19 stands as proof that global reach, financial stability, and artistic control can coexist. And once artists see that freedom works, it becomes harder to accept anything less. The mindset of the next generation has changed. Disruption rarely meets open confrontation. More often, it meets silence. As SB19 expanded their independent footprint, industry resistance appeared not through public criticism, but through subtle gatekeeping mechanisms embedded within media exposure, award circuits, and distribution pipelines. Independent acts frequently encounter limited radio rotation, selective playlist placements, and reduced mainstream coverage compared to label-backed counterparts. Award nominations and industry recognition can also reflect institutional relationships, where major networks and sponsors hold influence. These barriers do not prohibit success. They slow momentum and shape perception. Distribution presents another challenge. Large-scale physical distribution networks, retail partnerships, and international licensing channels are historically optimized for label clients. Independent artists must build alternative pathways, often requiring greater logistical complexity and strategic planning. Corporations rarely attack disruption directly. Direct opposition can validate the challenger. Instead, isolation protects the existing system by controlling visibility and narrative framing. Yet, SB19's momentum demonstrates how fan mobilization can bypass traditional bottlenecks. Streaming coordination, social media amplification, and grassroots promotion allow supporters to build visibility outside institutional channels. The deeper concern for traditional power structures is not one group's success, it is the erosion of narrative control. When audiences choose what rises, gatekeeping loses influence. Silence can be the industry's loudest defense. What SB19 has built extends beyond career strategy. It represents a structural blueprint that could redefine the global music economy. If artist-led ownership models continue to spread, traditional contracts built on long-term control and master ownership may face increasing resistance. Emerging markets are no longer passive participants in global entertainment. The Philippines and broader Southeast Asia are evolving into innovation hubs where digital fluency, diaspora connectivity, and mobile-first consumption habits accelerate new industry models. Instead of exporting talent to Western systems, these regions are exporting systems of their own. In this landscape, artists transform from managed talent into brand CEOs. They oversee intellectual property, direct creative ecosystems, cultivate communities, and leverage analytics to scale global reach. Success becomes less about signing with power and more about building it. Technology accelerates decentralization. Streaming removes geographic limitations. Social platforms eliminate promotional bottlenecks. Direct-to-fan commerce bypasses intermediaries. Together, these forces redistribute influence across borders. SB19's journey illustrates a future where control, culture, and commerce intersect under artist leadership. Their model invites replication, adaptation, and evolution. They are not merely succeeding within the system, they are redefining its architecture. SB19 didn't just escape the system, they exposed it.